games left before we pop off to a best of five finals between number one and number two. And there are three players left alive in the CSW division. Josh Castellano has been dominating this field cover to cover, and he remains one game up on the other players. Waseem Khatri and Alex Seaholm, the other two players vying for an appearance in the finals here. All three players control their own destiny the way the pairings have played out. Josh needs to win one game, and he is in. Wasim needs to win this game and the next game to guarantee he's in, but could go 1-1 over the next two. Alex Seaholm will need to win on board two and then win over one of these players next round, or could have some other situations to appear. But this is a huge game. A win here, and Josh would clinch one of the two seats in the best of five finals. A loss here, and it is anybody's tournament. It's going to be a big, important game in the CSW field between two very strong players in Josh and Wasim. Morris, are you ready for this?
Yeah, and there's all sorts of permutations going on in my head, like, oh, what if Wasim wins and Alec loses here? Well, then this game will cause us to be Gibsonized going into the last round. So lots of interesting standings implications here. But let's focus on the game itself now that the tiles have been drawn.
Aginoxy, the opening rack for Wasim out of Pakistan. Oxy looks to be the strongest play here. OXY keeping the synergistic. AGIN is 26. Ixnay, a five-letter word. Wasim setting it up right on cue. This is 38, but holds GO. 26 AGIN, 38 GO. What do you like between those two, Morris?
Yeah, so my instincts here I feel like are sometimes off because of the differences between NWL and Collins. I looked this up the other night. NWL on average is around 4 points fewer per turn than Collins. And I think so my instincts are saying Oxy, but Ixnay I think tends to be what I've seen more, the style of Collins on stream. And I think that is because the average score of all plays in general in Collins will be higher. And so trying to play defensively usually only hurts yourself more than hurts your opponent. So I'll be curious to see what Wasim plays. I would lean towards Oxy, but I'm not actually sure what the correct instinct is here. It does set up things like Oxygenic, though, which is kind of cool here in how we placed it, given that he keeps GIN. So that's kind of interesting.
Oxy, I think, is the better play between the two of them. It's hard to leave that many points on the table, but AGIN is so nice. You can set up the ING bingos to play above the O in Oxy. This just feels like it does enough good things. So Oxy, I think a wise play from Wasim, how he opens this one. Josh has found a blank on his first rack, CEEMTT blank, and he will not be able to bingo here. It's more a matter of how quickly he identifies that rack. No sevens and just one possible eight that he could have had. He needed an I or an S for his floaters to play an eight. He's found neither, and he's got a tough turn here instead. The C will unlock front hooks to Oxy, COXY, valid in the CSW lexicon. Tech and Coxy, 22 points. TEME stacks on top of Oxy for 26 points. I think we're going to see one of those two plays, but maybe he plays a little bit shorter here, trying to bingo next turn more often. What do you think, Morris? Take the front hook?
Yeah, I like Tech and Coxie. That's really pretty. And I think the C often is a tile that obstructs things. In this case, it would actually kind of fork things really nicely. So I think that it's a play that doesn't give back a lot of points back, and after a play like Oxy, that you might interpret Wasim as heftier tiles. So I think that makes a lot of sense, and it gives Josh some chances next turn to hit one of the two lines he's creating.
Both of these are really solid plays. Team on top, Tech and Coxy, even just EM on top of Oxy, making EX and MY feels good. The double T's doesn't feel great, but CETT blank does actually feel rather synergistic to me. Several good options here for Josh, but he's over 50% to bingo next turn, regardless of the play he chooses because of that blank. He's opting for Tech and Coxie. I like this one.
Yeah, and that will give back annexing. Uh, so um, so this will quickly shift the scales a bit towards Wasim to start things off. But with Josh having the blank here, he should be able to bingo back off in the next turn.
Yeah, what seems to be a minor decision ends up having major ramifications in this game. The other play does block annexing and Tech does not, but of course you can't ever actually know what your opponent has. Annexing quickly coming down from Wasim. He's got to be relieved that wasn't blocked, as otherwise it's a nasty rack and a tough situation for him. Big swing in that game, and another big swing likely to come here. Josh, EMNPTQ blank. What's this I was saying about 50+% to bingo next turn? He's missed. He's missed badly. And now he'll have to choose between three reasonable options here. QAT through the A and annexing just 22. TEMP down from the top triple word score is 40. And QUEP burning the blank, QUEP, 58. Three very different options that are all very close on a simulation. Big decision here to make for Josh.
Yeah, my instinct, I think, is what it looks like Josh is leaning towards right now with Cox. I actually don't know of the relative merits of the queue in CSW versus NWL. I think it's fairly similar. It's both the worst time. It's the worst time in the game in both, but I actually don't know the extent to how bad it is in both.
So caught the play from Josh. That's a play I would have gone a little bit slower on. It's a huge play, but he's going with his gut. He's going to try to bingo next turn, scoring points, and this gives Wasim a fantastic play. Wasim immediately spotting the deep, low probability Grassum, Grassum. That's a Scottish term, a lump sum paid in addition to rent, a gross sum. I don't know. I've never seen that before, but Wasim dropping it down instantly. That's incredible. 83 more points for him.
Yeah, so this is a nice lead. And one thing to keep in mind here from a standings perspective is if Wasim wins really big, let's say by 200 points, and Alec also wins on his board, we could see the case where Wasim jumps into first place. And then we have Josh versus Alec in the finals. So Wasim not only leading, but leading by a lot here actually does have some implications on the standings for next round and something to maybe monitor as we see these next few turns come out.
We will definitely keep an eye on the spread situation. Yeah, Josh doesn't want to lose by 150 or 200. Wasim could just straight up leapfrog him on spread, and suddenly Josh is playing for his life in the final round before the finals. That could be a big swing. And Wasim's got the start he needs, and Josh has another tough rack. ELMNPY blank. Man, this is my fault. I put the commentator hex on. I said, oh, he's very likely to bingo. And now, once again, struggling through a non bingo play is Josh Castellano. He can cash in the blank. The beautiful 56-point Flemmy plays through the G and annexing as a double double. But there are other more standard options here as well. PREMY through the R in Grossum is 36 points, holds LN blank. GYMP from the G and annexing, or GYM to set up the P in the same spot, and amply AMPLY from the A and Grossum, all decent candidate plays for Josh here. Another hard turn for him. And Morris, now that he faces this big deficit, do you see Josh opening the board up here? Or do you see him trying to control the damage before this one does turn into the nightmare loss?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, GYMP is insane, right? The one you said, like that just opens such a volatile spot for so many points. I think that's even a bit too rich for my blood, but yeah, I think I don't think I would have the guts to do that, but deciding between something like, yeah, I think Premi just seems very good here. Like even though you're down, that scores so well, and it's okay to be a bit patient here. I think the worst thing you can do is start panicking when you're down 130, and that becomes a 200-point loss or a 250-point loss because you started uh, panicking too soon.
I'd say GYMP would come from the G in annexing, not the G in Grossum.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
if you're down
Okay.
350, maybe, but yeah, GYMP from the G in annexing is a less ridiculous option, one that actually makes some sense. But this
I
also
see.
makes some sense for Josh. Nice play here.
Yes, yes, yes. Thanks for the correction. I was like, there's no way. But yeah. So yeah, so I mean this keeps it I mean he's still down by a lot, but he's keeping good letters and the kind of rack that he would hope for Wasim to draw after a bingo in order to get back into it is exactly what Wasim drew. Just really clunky stuff. Two I's, two O's, two U's. That's even worse than E-I-E-I-O. I don't know what song this would be though.
Yeah, this is a sad song. Whatever song it is, definitely a sad one. FUGIO plays through the G in annexing. The word annexing does not take a back S. INGS words are so difficult to keep straight. But maybe we see Josh try it in desperation. Fugio would partially obstruct that, though it does give access to the left side of the board a little bit easier. And without trying that S hook, that is a good option. UFO also plays above Premi right now, 30 points, but holds DIIO leave. It's not going to be a fun turn for him next turn, but UFO can score a lot of points now. There's also the beautiful FOGOU through the G and Grossum. That's 21. Takes away a lot of the stuff that could happen up there. Holds DII. Several fun options here for Wasim. Fugio, UFO, Fugu in either spot. It's a lot to think about. I don't know what the right answer is here, but a big turn either way for Wasim.
For sure. Yeah, I think yeah, I lean towards Fugio, but I totally see the logic of a few of these different options. Um, and also it looks like uh Josh will definitely get a bingo next turn. I mean, I assume the best plays are the ones through the G and annexing, so those will stay intact with this play of UFO.
Yes, three double doubles through the G on this turn for Josh. Those are his highest scoring bingos after UFO coming down for Wasim. Each of the three bingos is just a baby bingo. Each one makes the blank an R. Three different words: triangle, integral, and the CSW only Terraglin, Teraglin, each 82 points here. Integral, I think, would be the most fun play to make, especially in this situation. As oh wait, never mind. Interval is the one that takes the back hook. Integral just takes an S. Triangle takes a back D though, so he wants to pick the option that gives him the most opportunity to catch back up. I think triangle, if he knows the D back hook, does that. But he's opting for Terraglin here as well. Just play a double double and advance the clock. That makes some sense.
I think he might also be realizing the vowel placements on Terraglin. This creates two juicy hotspots right below the A in Terraglin could hit the triple with something like azote, and above the E in Terraglin, well, ZE, for instance, plays. So yeah, I think this is a bit more of a volatile play that could allow for high scoring counterplay. And after a play like UFO, he might be deducing that Wasim has low point tiles.
Yeah, UFO after a lengthy pause like that too means, oh, you probably didn't feel good about making this. If you can play FOU off and keep a great rack, UFO happens immediately. So the fact that we saw a little pause from Wasim, perhaps providing Josh with a little bit of extra information. We see Josh's gambit work to perfection. He sets up a hotspot for the Z and then reaches in and draws the Z out of the bag, but Wasim will not let him cash it, playing the nice defensive guide and addressing the hotspot set up by Josh. Great plan, but thwarted by Wasim.
Well, the nice thing here is there are still, I mean, it won't score as much, but Arroz, ARROZ, should play from the A in Terraglin. I think that was part of the logic with it. You were creating two hotspots at once.
That was part of the logic, and even though the big ZE plays were taken away, still tons of scoring option. Arose 45 points, Zebra and ITA 55 points here for Josh, and then the word bronze BRONZE plays through the N in Terraglen. So several good high scoring options for Josh. Bronze would be an awesome play because it has four back hooks, DNRS, and will really help Josh get down into the bottom section of this board. But a Rose opens lines as well. Zebra scores 55. A lot of good options for Josh here. He needs to choose the best one. He still trails by 60 points. He'll pull within 10 or 20 after this play, but still an uphill climb in order for Josh. We'll see how desperate he gets and how risky he chooses to be on a tough turn.
Yeah, it looks like he's shifting around and okay, now he has a row set up, but it looks like he was shifting towards some other shorter plays possibly before that. So curious what's sort of going through his mind right now. Uh yeah, I think he's deducing that this play just seems very strong and keeps things in striking distance.
Rose is good, but according to a simulation here, Zebra for 55, despite stringing the Z out in that triple word line, is still crushing the simulation about 5 points, 5.5 ahead of any other option.
Hmm. That's curious. Yeah, that goes against my instincts. Um, yeah, it just feels like to me Wasim's average turn score will go up by more next turn than the point sacrifice. But yeah, Josh plays the sim approved play, so good on him. Bad on me.
I sometimes I feel like players like have a headset on or something when I say this play wins a sim, even though it feels weird. Like they've been so consistently making that play on day 4 of this tournament. The caliber of players left remaining and standing is so high right now. Zebra for 55, crushing a sim. Josh able to pull the trigger on it. Yes, Wasim scores more after Zebra than Arose, 8 more points to be specific. But Josh scores 10 more points right now and 1.5 more points next turn. So rolling the dice, successfully rolling the dice, is Josh here. Zebra for 55. He trails by just 11 in what looked like it was going to be a blowout for a while. And Wasim, another tough rack, AAAILRZ, has 3 plays using the Z. Each is 39, each not super fun. Zilla, Zila, Zari, Zari, and Zori, Zori. I think you're forced in this situation, as Wasim, to play Zilla and keep this abysmal AAOR leave. Just have to take the Z away, right, Morris?
Yeah, I think you gotta go in that spot. I needed to make sure that there weren't front extensions to Zilla in this dictionary. There are not. So yeah, seems very reasonable, and gives uh Wasim not like too comfortably, but having a 50-point lead, especially after Terrible into Zebra sequence, is definitely nicer than nothing.
And now Josh down 50, finding the second blank in this game, and has another very challenging rack in front of him. DJORTV to go with that blank. This is going to be a weird turn for Josh. You would like to play off JOV together somehow, but those words don't exist on this board. Very few options make any sense at all here for Josh. Veto through the E in Zebra is 20, holding DJR blank. Jete, Jete, through the disconnected E's is 13. And otherwise, he probably just throws back tiles. This is a really weird rack for Josh. And I think, yeah, the Surrender Cobra says it all. Oh my goodness. What on earth do I do here? Good luck, Josh.
Yeah, yeah, really, really interesting. And I guess it feels like also that I mean there are a lot of E's, I's, and A's and O's out for that matter. So I do wonder if keeping it a bit right, keeping like R and V feels normally not right. RVT normally isn't great as a leave, but if you pair that with some of the vowels available, that doesn't seem that bad. But yeah, veto just scores more than anything else here. It knocks out some of the worst case scenario bingos also, so I think this is totally reasonable and just hope to cash in the J next turn.
So double sighting for Wasim Aaioorr. And before I can even talk about this awesome play, he's just going to play it. Orarian, Orarian, the play from Wasim. He also had Orarion, Orarion. But each of those incredible ways for Wasim to play out of a horrific rack very fast, break up the double, but I think putting the O down instead of the A would be a much better choice for him. The O, a bad tile, the A, a good one. I wonder if that's an oversight or if there's something we don't see here. But Orarian, not Orarion, the play for Wasim. And he reaches in and finds an A, but not an O. So this is looking like a good decision now with what he's drawn. Josh on his rack, DERRS blank, and I can't see that seventh tile. Did you get it, Morris?
J.
Yeah, that's right. It's a
It's
J.
the J. Yeah. Yeah.
That's right.
So yeah, I mean, we've seen the word Jerd be considered in a few different positions in this tournament. This would be a super risky version of it. I guess you could do the less risky version for more points. Jerd and Ja maybe could be an option, keeping ERS blank, and it sets up a new bingo line for Josh. So something like that might be what I'm leaning towards.
Jerd is probably the play we see from Josh. It's the question of where do we see Jerd from Josh? Yeah, Jerd and JA is nice. 21 points, ERS blank, a superb leave, and I'm setting up a line to cash in those tiles too. But JIRD through the I in Orarian sets up ERS blank superbly. There is one unseen S from Josh's POV, but the odds that Wasim has it, he didn't have it last turn. He would have pluralized Orarian and bingoed. So 6 chances to draw it, but it wasn't left on his rack. We'll see if Josh swings for the fences, scoring just 13, or plays a more conservative play here, scoring 21. He also has 57 right now. AJIES down from the A, and Terraglen cashing the blank. Maybe something to think about here, but that DRR leave is yucky. I think we're going to see a Jerd.
Yeah. I was gonna
Josh.
say, they're playing Collins words I didn't know. Well, I don't know a lot of Collins words, but but no, he fixes it to the correct spelling. And this looks really good. I think it's merited here to make this Jerd. It's also much more flexible of a lane. You can make seventh ending an S this way, whereas the other Jerd lane, oh, seven does fit barely. So I guess yeah, it comes down to some risk versus reward, but I think this is very reasonable. No need to panic yet and swing for the fences.
It would have been a really obvious telegraph too. If you have Jerd for 21 and then you play it up top instead for 9 fewer points, like what does that mean? Oh God, you're setting yourself up, and Wasim almost certain to block that setup. So against a computer, maybe the smaller, lower scoring Jerd is appropriate, but I think against a real human with a real brain who's going to sniff out your plan, Josh took this turn correctly. ABELNOP for Wasim. He could bingo with an E in space, openable beanpole options, but they're not in space. No floaters he needs in space. And Wasim's got to figure out how to get out of this rack. He can play blog to the G in Gras Sum. He can play OP to the right side of Orarian, making Jap and IO. He can play OB in that same spot. He can score a lot of points and play Apnea down from the A. Tough turn here for Wasim, and a bunch of his approach is going to come down to how likely it is that he thinks Josh has an S in his range. What do you think here, Morris?
Yeah, I mean, if he assumes Josh has an S in his range, Uh, I mean, he could also just assume Josh has a lot of constants is the thing after a play like Jared. It's really tough. With Vito and Jared back to back. It would seem to me that Josh probably just doesn't have a lot of vowels to work with at this point, and maybe that would influence playing off an extra vowel here because I think the bag is a bit vowel heavy. Um, that would be my instincts over thinking that Josh is specifically setting up a big S lane. I mean, it could be in the cards, but I think given the last two plays, a lot of confidence, just because they're low scoring plays too, seems somewhat likely.
When your opponent starts dinking around and doing weird stuff like Vito and then Jerd, you have to think, okay, they're making these weak plays. They're working out of some awkward racks. But if their racks were abysmal, they'd be exchanging. And so when your opponent starts scoring, 15, 20, and just kind of messing around in parts of the board, you start to think that blank is likely. You don't play through VOT and other garbage unless one of the letters isn't actually garbage. So yeah, I agree that Josh's last plays do tell Wasim just a little bit. He can't have Josh pegged on a blank, but it seems more and more likely every time he makes a small, low scoring play. We'll see what he does with that invitation or with that information rather. A really hard turn here for Wasim. He's taken 3 minutes already, and he should probably take at least three more.
Yeah, it looked like he was maybe looking at blog for a bit, and that is reasonable. I think if so, in the cases where you assume Josh has the blank, it does create a bingo spot for you, which seems better than anything on the board when you're keeping things like an E to make B as an option. And if you assume Josh doesn't have good stuff, then you're probably slightly closer to him with a blank. So I think something like blog, there is some logic for either sort of way you can interpret it. Either if Josh has blank sort of stuff, or if Josh just has kind of been saddled with just enough confidence such that he needed to sacrifice on the scoreboard in the short term in order to improve his racks in the long term.
An extremely hard turn. You see, he's about to pull the trigger on blog, and then he's like, that bingo line up top is just going to sit there, and you get to keep fishing until you try to hit it. I don't want to open the board right now in this position, but he just doesn't seem to have any good plays that don't open up this board. I'm trying to see anything else he can do that would maybe obstruct the Jerd spot that don't give back new lines. ALP from the A and Gras sum is something. BABE is something, but blog the play we see.
No, I think it's reasonable. I mean, if I think he has to deduce that Josh, if he has the blank, he's going to bingo eventually, and the worst thing you can do is continuing to block, block, and block and dwindle your lead on the scoreboard such that his bingos actually take a commanding lead of the game. Whereas here, Wasim's up 50 before the bingo, and he will be down, but not out by any means. And getting a nice play on the triple here will put him right back in the game. So I think it's really reasonable to just score points, get rid of the bad letters, just kind of ride the equity train for that last turn. As
Riding the
Josh,
equity train is not what Josh does here. Josh had a number of high scoring bingos. Red Seer, Redsear, was 85 in the same position, but it slides over and accesses the right side of the board. And Josh opting to play defense here, leaving a lot of points on the board. I'm going to guess that the blank is a C, Decares. It could also be a K and maybe some other stuff in CSW, but I suspect the C, blank C, confirmed by our team on the ground, Decares. If Josh goes ahead a little bit more, I can see passing up the points, but it is just a 22-point game. That's an interesting decision, and one he pulls the trigger on pretty quick. I don't know if it was wrong, and Josh had his entire turn to think about it while we were looking at Wasim's bonkers position, but a unique decision there from Josh for sure. He's now ahead 332 to 308, and Wasim will now look to respond underneath deck hairs.
yeah, that's really interesting. I think Yeah, it's really yeah. This will basically make it a tie game, so it definitely feels maybe a bit early from Josh's perspective to make that sort of play like DeCares. Um, at this point, the game is close enough where it doesn't seem like Wasim will win by so much that you'll have to play in the final game head to head against Alec to make the finals. You'll just have a slightly easier matchup. So yeah, it feels like a bit much too soon for my instincts at least. And now we see Wasim has a slight lead, and there aren't a lot of spots on the board with this random rack Josh drew after the bingo.
What a random rack to draw out of the bag. DHHKOUW, the pull for Josh. He does have one option that looks to me like his best play. RUKH from the R in Orarian, 33 points. DHOW, the leave. I don't like how those letters synergize with this unseen pool that contains four eyes, but I don't like anything at all about this rack or this situation. Scoring 33 points is all Josh is going to be able to do here. JAUK is a wild play he shouldn't make. DHOW beneath deck hairs is 23 holding HKU. KHUD to the left side of tech, making UT and DE. Like, all of the options here are so weird and keep weird letters, and you're pulling into a weird pull or weird pool. This is a hard position for Josh, but I love how this strengthens his O, setting up OK for next turn. I think this is good from Josh, but maybe Rook better for Josh.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I think is unique about Josh in terms of skill set is, from my understanding, he really knows how valuable small leaves are, like in terms of the number of points. Like he can tell you this three tile leave is worth 4.3 points on average or something, or get really close to that. He's worked on a lot of the Macondo stuff, and I think he's really taken to heart what some of these new leave evaluations are. So he's definitely we saw this with Zebra over a Rose, for instance. He probably thought the tiebreaker was the leave of Zebra is just so much better for me. And it wouldn't shock me if he had similar logic here where uh HOW is just so much better than DHW as a leave.
Wow, yeah, so a big decision there from Josh. And finding a second O in the bag, he's going to threaten enormous plays to the left side of this. Things like WHOOT are going to be a mammoth score. So, Josh, excellent setup there. And now he's going to smash it unless Wasim can get in the way. A Wasim block would be epic, as he spelled up on his rack. EPICEH, putt, and IDE. 35 points. With 8 tiles in the bag, though, Wasim has to know the letters he's leaving are likely the letters he's stuck with trying to win a tight endgame. And the letters he's keeping after pick, just AVW. Those are not good endgame tiles, but he's not in a good position as he's drawn such awkward racks here. Oh man, this is a big turn. Epic to the left side of Cud, looking at this unseen pool with 3 O's. Wasim has to have that spot circled. He has to be terrified of it. But the AVW leave can't make him feel good about approaching the end game with it. Tough turn. He's pulling the trigger on Epic, though.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Um, I might have done which WICH there, but it's I mean, this scores so much, though I completely understand it. Um, and yeah, I
Goodness.
think Josh might be in the driver's seat here, given how good his tiles are, going into this end game, or pre-end game to end game scenario. But yeah, he'll have with four in the bag, he'll probably play off three here in some capacity, and then go into an end game.
Yeah, he does not want to play exactly four. He faces a similar situation to the one Joey had, or Chloe rather had a few games ago, where you either want to play short and leave at least one in the bag, or you want to go super duper long here and try to draw an out next turn. But I think in this instance, four in the bag, playing short is probably the approach Josh going to take here. He is rather low on time, just 6 minutes and counting to figure out this pre-end game play. It's going to be a toughie. One neat play for him from the D injured is DHOW. Josh holds the last S and would set it up. Wasim's eyes would get really big after the setup play from Josh in this instance, but there are other more conservative ways to play off two tiles and set the pacing in Josh's favor. OW next to Orarian, making IO and a jaw feels awesome. AWE beneath Premi, making EW and UME is 27. We're either going to see Josh play two or three tiles here. He's got a lot of great options. He needs to find the
Well,
best one.
it looks like he has whoosh set up. One other thing I was curious about is row RHO, a good idea from the R in Orarian, just because that would create such a powerful S spot. Uh, the problem with DHOW is that does give high scoring underlaps, whereas row there really would sacrifice a lot of points for Wasim and likely would need to empty the bag. Um, so it looks like Josh might be leaning towards a five tile play though here, just because they score a lot, making HEH off the EH in Epic.
DHOW does give the underlapping plays, but looking at the unseen pool, you got to figure out what those underlapping plays could be. To play underneath DHOW, Wasim would need either the E or the O to slot behind the W. And if he plays one of those, he's likely holding on to some combination of IIIVW, or at least the tiles of those that Josh doesn't draw. So, like, if you play below Dow and try to block me, you're using your only good letter and leaving all of your bad letters behind. That sequence feels good. I think the worst thing Josh
Well,
could see after DHOW is just something like WAI beneath it.
yeah, yeah. So like, I think you're right. Shedding the W and an I and scoring, basically a similar amount to Dow. I think would give some. It would give endgame tempo to Wasim. I think. Um, maybe I'm wrong. Just because Wasim's already up 19. It will be close though.
Josh also looking at
So
playing three tiles, but scoring a ton of points here. HEW to the right side of Orarian, making SOHURE and MAW is 34. The OOST leaves stuff to be desired for sure. OOST drawing into three eyes and an O feels unfun, but that scores so well that maybe Josh feels he just wins after a play like that. A really important turn here for Josh, a really challenging one, and his clock keeps ticking lower and lower.
yeah, that seems very good. Uh, so we'll sort of see. I mean, he doesn't have a ton of time, but this is the turn to take the most time on, I think, if you're him. Uh, the end game is a deterministic outcome, whereas the pre-end game, you have to go through many more permutations and combinations to consider what sort of options you could draw into, what sort of options Wasim could have on his own rack. Just a lot more to consider. So it looks like he's going to empty the bag here with whoosh. It scores so much. I think this definitely has a lot of merit. He's picking
I
back
hate
up
it.
though, so
I hate it. I hate this play of Whoosh. I think it's bad. And Josh, I think, just kind of looks through this option and is like, ah, I hate it too. Josh, I feel like is not going to win this end game unless he draws an out right now. And on a tight board, he's not going to. I feel like this does the pacing all wrong for Josh. I feel like this is a missed opportunity for him. I can't tell you for certain. That's a really hard turn, but I just don't see this leading to a victory very often for him.
yeah, I mean it puts him up on the scoreboard by 18. It was 39 points, so it is a lot. Yeah, Hugh looked probably a bit better to me, or maybe like I don't know if RHO would have been good or not, but that was definitely intriguing to me too. Um, I think this is somewhat interesting. It looks like he's on hold, or maybe was on hold. It's unclear to tell. But the 5 point challenge here could be impactful. Wasim might have him on hold and might be calculating out an endgame and deciding if a win is within 5 points, he probably lets it go. If anything else, he probably doesn't let it go. Or I guess if he has a win regardless, he might just keep it and not challenge and just play his optimal end game. But yeah, there might be some maths involved in deciding whether to potentially lose 5 points for a challenge.
I mean, sure, say hold. Why not in this situation? Wasim is pretty sure that word is good. And this is why you don't play Whoosh, because Wasim's got a really easy sequence here now. Vatic holding WON. Wasim's going to win this game by 20. Now, this is probably the most devastating sequence Josh could see from that unseen pool. Oh, you're going to score 30 something and hold a high scoring out. Wasim had a great rack for what he could have had, but I just feel like Whoosh loses to like any out in two sequence from Wasim unless Josh pulls multiple outs. And on this board with 6 tiles, you're not going to. Whoosh felt like a rushed decision, time induced, as Josh is low on the clock, but Whoosh felt like a game losing play in this situation too.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is from Josh's perspective here, in terms of the standings, he's kept it close, which is good for him because he will stay in first place. So even though he has the same amount of wins now after this round as Wasim, he'll have a lot of spread on him. And we'll see if Alec loses. These are our two finalists. If Alec wins, I'm guessing it will be Alec versus Wasim to determine the second final spot.
Yeah, I'm checking the standings now. We do not have a result from the Alex C. home game yet. But yes, if Alec loses, then this game doesn't even matter. It's going to be these two in the final. Well, this game does matter because Wasim had to win. But if Alec loses, then these are the two finalists, and we have no drama anywhere. No result yet from the C. home game. If that comes in, we will communicate that as soon as we know it. But Josh sunk in this one. He feels the same thing. He's just going to make a play, and we are going to end this one. A high scoring out sequence from Wasim. We'll cut to overhead, Mike, and see if we get anything from these guys here.
What? Yeah, I drew IILE. Yeah, I mean, given the tournament situation, I want to like just prevent a blowout. Would be bad. If I'm gonna lose, I want it to lose close. So I just played that, and it loses to bad draws, but it's like what was that? 20? No, 30, 32-point difference. So I take that. I missed. I think I had you as the having the eye, and I forgot to track it off. But I forgot to track off the side basically. But yeah, good game. I definitely like missed stuff there. Like, I wonder if Mochet. I think Mochet might be a word.
Mochat, Mochate. Which is spelling?
No, Mochette. That I wasn't. It's like might be good. I mean, it would put it right there. But I don't know. There might be other bingos in the opening. I kept MET blank.
Oh, over here?
Yeah. When I played this, I kept MET blank.
MET blank. Spectite.
Ooh. Okay, I hope I would have. Well, I didn't find that in there.
But
There's no sevens or eights?
Only 8.
Okay, all right. Okay, I don't feel as bad. Maybe I should have played team TEME. CT versus. I think tech is okay.
I was like,
All right, let's see. So whoosh, that's a word, right? I was like,
yeah, I wasn't sure.
90%? Yeah, it's a word. It's a word. Yeah. Yep.
was stuck here when I had a P-A-N-E here. So I was trying to block something there, but
Oh, yeah, it's probably not worth it.
yeah, not good.
You want to play
because-
bedpan? I mean, it doesn't really.
Yeah,
It
bedpan.
doesn't really block because I still
Yeah.
get the triple there.
Or
Bedpan, yeah, that's not really a block.
I wasn't able to find anything bad at river here.
Oh, interesting. Like evade. Wait,
No,
no,
I don't
P.
know
Oh,
D.
P. Oh,
Yeah.
P-N-E. Oh. Oh, yeah. It doesn't look like anything.
I was thinking of playing something from here, maybe.
Huh. Oof. Getting suspenseful. I'll have to see what happened in the Alec game. That will determine.
If he loses, then we both in the
Yeah,
finals.
then we're in the finals. Yeah. But if he wins, it's probably. Well, I don't know what happens. Maybe we play again. I'm not sure. I don't know how they'll do that pairing. Did you submit?
No.
Not yet.
Okay, a big win from Wasim, and we are now waiting on the outcome of the Alex Seaholm game on board 2. If Alex Seaholm wins his game, then we're probably going to see Wasim and Alec face off, and Josh left alone atop these standings. If Alec lost, this is the finals. We're going to see a rematch between these two. So it all comes down to board 2 and what's happening. And that result just coming in, Alec with a victory. So Alec, Wasim, and Josh are the 3 players still alive in this tournament. Oh, that's going to be fun to watch them pair.
Yeah.
We're going to bring you one more CSW game between the 2 of these 3 players who are given a shot to go for it. I think it's going to be Wasim and Alec. And unless Josh gets absolutely blown out on board 2, Josh is going to play the winner of that game.
Yeah, and I think this is really astute. Matt was criticizing Whoosh as a play that it loses, and Josh said, yeah, it loses a bit more often, but it eliminates the scenario of really bad losses. And that's really what he needed. There were bingos unseen to him. So I think Whoosh made a lot of sense given the tournament situation, especially.
Yeah, I was too quick to criticize that one. Now looking at the standings and where Josh is, he's right. Just avoid losing by 80 or 100. That spread should be enough that even if you go 0-2 across these next 2, if it's 0-2 and close, you're alive. Josh was never playing to win this game. Josh was just trying to keep it close. Whoosh was a very interesting play from him and keeps his odds nice and alive. It's going to be crazy. A spot in the finals comes down to the very last game of the 28-game main event. We are going to have that last game for you here on Twitch. We're going to let these players get away from the board. We're going to let the smart tournament organizers figure out who needs to play who, and we will be back in just a few minutes with an enormous game, a North American Championship on the line. I know you're not going to tune out for that. Stay tuned. One more game coming your way very